Can everybody hear okay?
Yes.
Good. Thanks, Philip. Getting through to you, that's a great thing. Okay. I wanted to, this is one of those messages, I wasn't sure how long it would take. We could be done in 5 minutes or 15 or 20. Of course, the longer I take getting started, the longer it'll last. I realize that. But before we got started, there's a couple things I wanted to just encourage you. I wanted to give Ken's not here, and Ken, as you guys know, he's kind of an unbridled blur of enthusiasm up here, walking back and forth, and I really appreciate the energy. The energy that he brings, I really do appreciate that. And so I don't have the walk lapel mic, so I'm going to stick close here, but it's not because I'm not excited. Okay, I'd like to run back and forth a little bit too. My mom said she saw me. No, that's okay. My mom said she saw me running by her house the other day, and I'm glad she could tell I was running. Okay. Yeah, Kevin just got that. All right. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, well, as I get started here, I'm going to title this, the message here, What's Next? Or What Next? Okay? How many of you ever seem like you got done with a project and now you say, what next? All the husbands can relate to that, right? Because they get something going, they get something done, and then they just ask their wife, what's next? Okay? So they always have a pretty good list of things there for us to do. But that's not really what's next here. That's just the title of the message. So as I'm kind of getting ready, if you want to turn to Genesis chapter 1, we're going to start from the very, very beginning, and then we're going to look at what's next. All right? Now, we just got out of back before the election in November, we went through a lot of time where there's, anybody get any phone calls wanting to take a political survey by chance? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Unless you're on a do not call list, you probably don't get that going on. But that can happen. And then now we're in summertime, and if you're doing any traveling at all, you see there's road construction. Even if you go to Lahana, you can see there's a little road construction. Anybody know what I'm talking about there? Anybody been to Lahana lately? Okay, so there's a few cones down there. But anyway, you're probably wondering, what does that all have to do with this? But, we have a couple here in our church, and I told Matt I was going to mention this. I get a kick out of Matt Mindy sometime. They keep things pretty lively. They do the youth, and they seem to have everything pretty well together. But, right, Matt? But anyway, they were driving down the road, and they were kind of in a construction zone, and there was this sign that said, survey crew ahead. And, of course, Mindy's sitting there, and she sees this, and she says, I wonder now what are they going to ask us? And so, that was pretty funny. But like you say, they do have it pretty all together. And the next day, Matt was trying to help around the house. I know some of you don't think he really does that, but I think he really does, because he was trying to get some laundry done, and he had this sweatshirt he was going to get washed, and he throws it in there, and he hollers at Mindy, what setting should I put it on? And she says back, what does your shirt say? And he said, University of Colorado. So, anybody get that one? Okay, so we know they have it all together, and that they're working together like my wife and I do. Okay, so turn to Genesis chapter 1 if you're not already there. It says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning God had a plan, and the plan was not as the plan is today, is it? Okay, and we're going to spend just a little time of seeing what that plan was. But he created the earth, he created the heaven, he created the animals. If you turn over again to Genesis 3, which is just a little bit to the right there, Genesis 3, 1 through 5, it says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." All right, so in the beginning, God had a plan. And the plan was that he created Adam and he created Eve and everything for them in the garden, and that they were to live there in fellowship with him. But because of sin and the fact that it entered into the world, that plan got altered. Okay, it got altered. And so we're living under a plan today where sin has entered into the world, but it was not the ideal plan. Turn over to Genesis 6 and verse 1. It says there that and it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. And so you see that when man is left to thoughts with himself, if you skip down to verse 5, it says, And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So when man was left to himself, he says here that his thoughts were only evil continually. And so God came to a point where he was even sorry that he had created man, because everything on the earth, as far as man was concerned, was turning evil. But Noah found grace in God's sight, and God provided him a way to survive the coming judgment. If you look at chapter 8 and verse 17, we'll see that. It says, and then if you look in 9:1 also, it says, And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Okay? So Noah and man, you might say, got a second chance. And this is how God is with us, isn't it? Is that he, today even, he gives us a second chance. We are living in the age of grace, where if we are asking him to forgive us our sins, he will do that. And he will see that we are saved. And he promises that he will cleanse us from all unrighteousness. All right, if we, after this, Noah, we're kind of just going through and getting how God's plan has gotten us to this point. If you turn to Genesis 12, verse 1, we're going to see that after Noah and his families, his sons' families replenished the earth, it says there that now the Lord had said unto Abraham, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curseth thee, and in thee all families of the earth shall be blessed. So what we have here is a continuation of the plan, isn't it? Or it's actually an expansion of the plan. Because up until this time, God had not chosen his people. Now this is talking about the chosen people of Israel, God's chosen, who he made a covenant with Abraham, and he blessed him and said, through your family, you're going to be a great nation. And all of the nations and all of the people through you will be blessed. Okay, so he made the start of the nation of Israel. Then if you look in Genesis 29, and we're going to see in Genesis 29 that, if we're not going to read all of that there, but you're going to see that Jacob fathers the 12 tribes of Israel. And I know my Sunday school class is probably sick of the 12 tribes of Israel, because we did talk about that on many consecutive weeks. And but yet that was part of the plan, as to how to structure the chosen people, the nation of Israel, and how that parallels with how he chose his people after his son Jesus came, and how he set up 12 disciples. Okay, and so there's a parallel there. Okay, but then what next? How did they progress from there? Well, after the nation of Israel was chosen, we have the nation of Israel grew. But Abraham, if you'll think back, Jacob, he had a descendant. His name was Joseph. And if you recall what happened to Joseph, Joseph was one of the 12. He was despised by his brothers. They were jealous of him. And through all of this plan that God had, Joseph he ended up being cast out, left for dead by his brothers. He ended up into slavery, into the house of Pharaoh, and this was in Egypt. And so Joseph, he gained favor and ended up in the higher government of the nation of Egypt. Turns out there was a famine in the land, and through Joseph, his family ended up getting saved, you might say. He provided them food from the food sources of Egypt. They even had the family move there over time, and they settled in the land of Goshen. Now, we all remember the land of Goshen, right? The land of Goshen was in Egypt, and they prospered while they were there. And pretty soon the pharaohs decided that the nation of Israel that was growing there, they had provided refuge to. They were multiplying. Their cattle were multiplying. They were becoming a strong nation and really a threat. And because of that perceived threat, they were put into bondage. And we know that what happened after the nation was put into bondage is along came Noah. So let's look at Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1. Yes. And we're going to look at verse 9. In fact, right before that is the names of the children of Israel, which came to Egypt. But if you look in verse 9, it says, "And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it came to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join us, or join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict